Marilynn Doenges attended the 2007 Society of Air Force Nurses 20th anniversary reunion honoring the World War II flight nurses. She took a few minutes away from the events and festivities to tell a few of her stories from those exciting days 65 years ago.
Tell us why you joined the military.
Well, when we were juniors in the middle of the war, 1942, the Red Cross came in and talked to our class and actually signed us all up that when we would graduate, we would go to the service. Now, that wasn't bound in stone because not all of us went, but most of us did go after we graduated. So that was part of after I was old enough and had my the nursing license that I could go. Then at that point everybody was gone and I thought, oh, shall I go? You know how you do sometimes. I was working at the hospital, and so then I finally decided yes, I did need to go. So I signed up and off I went.
And when you say I did need to go, was it something inside
Yeah,
you?
something with having made that commitment earlier, and the rest of my class had gone, or most of them. And so, yeah, there was that commitment there.
And where were you assigned?
Well, I took my basic training at Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indianapolis. And I took, then they sent me to White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. The Greenbrier Hotel was a 2,000-bed neurovascular surgical center, and the Ashford General Hospital. The government had taken that over and made a hospital. So I was there, and we worked pretty much of the time. We did 12-hour nights, and we did 8-hour days, maybe 7 to 12 and 3 to 7 or 7 to 3. That kind of was the pretty typical time that you worked. And we had a day off a week because always the nurses are short, and so we did that. And I did orthopedics and paraplegia, those kinds of things, the neurosurgery.
Well, what would you say was the toughest part of your job?
Well, you know, I was young. I don't know that I really thought of it as tough. At night, the soldiers would come and sit at the desk and talk to you and tell you about their experiences. And so I said, I know, even though I wasn't on the front lines, I know what it was like because I heard those stories all the time. And they said, don't come in and surprise us because we'll attack you. So let us know that you're coming in the room before when you open the door. And that was because I'd like to have just gone in quietly and made sure they were sleeping okay and not waking them up, but they said, no, don't do that.
Wow. So you would knock loudly before you go in?
Yeah, or you just open the door and say something, yeah. I'm coming in.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
You know, we don't think about that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that whenever you're asleep and you're in under the war zone, you're going to jump and grab your gun.
Yeah,
What would you say is the most rewarding of when you look back on those times?
Well, I think the interactions with the young soldiers and the young men, and they needed your fun and humor, and we joked a lot, and even with the seriously wounded young men, and so that was always really nice to be able to comfort them and all. And one thing I did was make a point of remembering their names when they went on leave. Usually that was a 30-day leave, and when they'd come back, I'd call them by their name, and they would really appreciate that because they'd say, how do you remember my name? Well, I just did.
Did you have any psychology courses or any preparation for this?
We had that in our nurses training. Yeah.
And what was the kind of thing they would say to such a young girl?
Well, they were young too,
Yeah.
you know, and so I think they didn't even, we just really saw ourselves as partners in this process of taking care of wounded men. And so I never thought about the age. Yeah.
Did you ever think of them as heroes?
Yeah, I don't think we did. I don't think we did think about that. And I hadn't realized, but a lot of those men I took care of at White Sulphur Springs were from the Battle of the Bulge. And just not too long ago, I thought I was looking at the time frame and realized that we were getting them. And we got a lot of frosted feet from there, too. Yeah.
Did you ever consider yourself a hero, Marilynn?
No, no. I was just a nurse. Yeah.
Did you stay in touch with any of them, or through letters? Or?
Some of them I did, and just recently I found a letter from one of them, and so I have his address, and since you know I'm going to go on the internet and see if I can contact him, and a number of the people that we worked with, we stayed in contact with for a long time, and my roommate that I traveled with in Europe. She's in a nursing home now, but I called her the other day and talked to her about something and asked her about do you remember this? Do you remember that? Sometimes she remembers things I don't, you know, so it's always nice to have her. Yeah.
What would you say is your fondest memory of during that time?
Oh, I always say the people. Yeah. Yeah, because they were just all wonderful.
Well, what made them so special, Marilynn? What made them quite so wonderful?
Well, I think part of what was how they handled their injuries, you know, that they never really complained. I can't really remember of anybody complaining, you know, and of course we were all in it for the war. So we didn't have that division that we have currently. Yeah. And people were being taken care of, and so, you know, it wasn't that division that we have today. Yeah.
Would you do it again if?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't want to stay in, so I got out. We had our choice, you know, and I got out, which was good because I went to college and met my husband, and a whole different story. We had gone to Marseille to go because we landed in Scotland on VE Day, 1945. So we met these big Germany quits headlines, and so we were in a staging area in England for a while, and then we went with the hospital and went over to France, and then we went with another hospital and another hospital. They kept shifting us around. We were replacement nurses, so that was part of it, that nurses would go home and we would take their places. But we went to Marseille, finally, to wait for a ship to go to the Philippines, to Manila was where we were going. And then, of course, while we were waiting for the ship, why the war was over to South Pacific. So we set up our hospital then in Marseille and took care of the wounded soldiers going home. Assessing. Yeah. So we were kept pretty busy with that, but the Army provides you lots of opportunities to travel. And we never said no to travel. So I got a lot of, you saw some of my pictures on the display, and that's only a few of them. Because we just always said, yes, we'll go. Whenever there was.
If there was one thing you could share with today's military nurses, what would that be?
Well, I think just do the best job you can. And you have to stay separate from the other person's pain. You can't be in their pain. It's theirs, and they have to deal with it. And you have to deal with your own pain, whatever that is. And so you've got to stay separate from your patients. Yeah.
And I would think that's hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. We learned that in our training, in our nurses training, and then a lot of with my psychiatric nursing, I've done a lot of that.
Did you go more in? Did you go more into the psychiatric after you left the Army?
No, I went into medical surgical, and then I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree. It took me 20 years there to get that, because I met my husband and left school. But then finally I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree, and then I got a master's and did psychiatric nursing then.
Do you think that the post-traumatic stress disorder of our day that we're, in a lot of the Vietnam, how is that different, or is it different? Because it didn't seem like the World War II era really
they
dealt
had
with
it.
it.
They had it.
Tell us about that, Marilynn.
Yeah.
Well, I took, in Marseille, I had a ward of 100 men on a psychiatric ward, and we didn't call it post-traumatic stress, but a lot of them had that. And then there were some real psychoses, schizophrenia and those kinds of things. And I remember the psychiatrist I worked with said, if these men had just stayed home on the farm and, lived with their families and that kind of thing, they probably would never have had a psychotic break. But being in the service and being in the war and the horrors that they see, was too difficult for them. So we had both the post-traumatic stress and...
They just didn't really talk about mental problems back then.
No, I don't think they did, because, for a long, even now we have stigma of mental illness. Yeah. And so I'm not sure when those people went home what they did, Yeah, because they didn't want to admit that they had been hospitalized on a psychiatric ward. We used a lot of hypnotism. The officer I worked with, the psychiatrist.
How would they use hypnotism?
Yeah, the psychiatrist used it with these men to help them forget the horrors and move on, And I thought he was very successful back then, Yeah.
They have secondary post-traumatic stress disorder. That's people like you who are around people.
Right.
Was that a concern for you or any of the other nurses, or were you really able to detach so much that it didn't create a problem?
We do. I think we just did our job and didn't even think about that, Because if you do, you can't survive in nursing if you take on everybody's problem. Yeah, I think that's true, almost any ill person that you take care of. Yeah, but you can be empathetic and take care of them and feel good about what you do. But as I say, you don't get into their problem. You can help them solve their problems, but you don't take them on. Well, I have to solve this. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Psychiatric nursing teaches that too. Yeah.
Do you give them hope?
Always.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, we have that in one of our books. Yeah, I write books for nurses. And I just wrote something about that. I had written it that you talk about hope because there is always something to be hopeful about in the most dire situation. Yeah. Yeah, so.
Do you see a difference? Did you see in those days, Marilynn, did you see a difference between the patients who had hope and those who gave up hope?
Oh, yes.
Tell us about that.
Always you do. You see the patients who give up, then they don't do anything, They don't read, they don't get out and walk if they can, or they don't participate in whatever's going on or in the ward, those kinds of things, yeah. But the people who have hope, let's go play a game of bridge or whatever. Played a lot of cards. Yeah.
What do you write? What are your books about?
They're care plan books and nursing diagnosis, which is the language of nursing. And so we are updating our nursing diagnosis manual we just finished, and we have a pocket guide of nursing diagnoses we've just updated, 11th edition, and we have a care plan book that is more of your like cardiac conditions and so forth in the care plans. Students love them.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Especially coming from you know, who has seen so much and watched nursing change over the years.
And that's how I got into the writing, because I wanted to be sure that that element was in the book that we were going to write. And I thought the other nurses would not put it in, but I knew. And my partners that I write with, they'd say, well, now why does it have to be this way? So then I have to explain to them why it's more important to say it that way. One of the things that I think a lot of people say is, what makes you feel that way? We really should not say that. We should say, tell me about feeling that way. Because nothing makes you make yourself.
Right. I mean, if we knew what made us feel this way, we'd
do something about
it.
Like, so they're just little language things like that don't sound important, but they carry a meaning. And I taught parenting for quite a few years here. Parent effectiveness training, if you've heard of that.
Yes.
It's the best parenting program.
Oh.
And they teach you active listening, where, like, I always give the example of my youngest daughter coming home and fussing about, oh, I've got this paper to write, and I've got all this math to do, and I'll never get it done, and oh, I'd be so sympathetic, and, you know, can I help you with that, you know, whatever, and she'd get mad at me. Well, then when I learned about active listening, I'd say, that sounds like a lot of work. Oh, you know, boy. You know, it's just really, everybody gives you an assignment, and, you know, I just, we didn't fight anymore about our work.
By saying, you're right, this is
yes,
tough.
it's tough,
And there's so many parents who would say,
Yeah.
okay, now you want to hear what I had to do when I was
Yeah,
your age?
or get busy and do your homework.
I know, just go do it. Get it done.
And I'll tell you, that works with patients, too.
It just feels good to hear it.
Uh-huh.
The sympathetic.
Yeah.
Voice. Wow.
Yeah.
Marilynn, is there something that you wish we had asked you? Or you think that there's something that's important for the current generation of nurses or the next generation of nurses to know about World War II and your experience as a nurse?
Read her books.
Yeah.
Buy
Yeah, I was
books.
thinking about the communication, because the communication is so important to me, how we communicate, you know, because our society tells people what to do. They give advice, you know, that's not helpful. I don't want to hear your advice. I just want to complain. Let me complain and just listen to me complain. You know, and yeah, so I'd say learn the communication. And I had some of it back then from my nurses training because it was so good. But I didn't have all that I have had since I've been in the psychiatric field, because that's the language that you use in psychiatry too. But not all psychiatrists and nurses use it either, yeah. They have to see the value of it. But I think if we would all change how we talk like that, we'd get along better.
That's right.
Uh-huh.